Welcome to CITAM Church Online. We have been considering the theme of friendship, started off in our previous video, and today the focus is right there at the bottom of the screen as we consider the birth of a friendship. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and you will be notified whenever there's a new video out, and you'll be able to watch it, share it, and it'll be a blessing to you. That's my confidence. And so in this video, we consider the birth of a friendship. And I can think of no better quote than that by C.S. Lewis insofar as the genesis of a friendship. C.S. Lewis wrote extensively on matters of love, relationships, and particularly friendships in one of his books, The Four Loves. And here he says, friendship is born at that moment when one person says to another, "What? You too? Thought I was the only one." I'll take it one more time. It says, friendship is born at that moment when one person says to another, "What? You too? Thought I was the only one." Friendship has a genesis. Think of your childhood friends, your campus friends, your high school friends. Think of the friendships that you have carried well over your years. I'm thinking of friendships that I've carried with me, friendships that have stood the test of time. And this is true, that those friendships had a genesis. Those friendships were birthed at a moment where I realized I was not alone. I realized that we had common ground. There was more that brought us together than that which divided us. And so it is with David and Jonathan. As we've considered this friendship in our previous video, we saw that this is really a model friendship, a friendship of two men who, whenever you think of Jonathan and you hear a character study of him, one of the things that comes out very clearly is that Jonathan was a loyal friend. David in himself was a very sociable person. He had a circle of friends, yet their friendship stands out because it's a friendship that we can draw so many nuggets on how we can choose, how we can identify friendships, how we can foster them, how we can forge them, how we can keep them. Today, I'd like us to read from 1 Samuel 18, and we'll see that which knit these friends together. 1 Samuel chapter 18, and I'm reading from the Message Bible. By the time David had finished reporting to Saul, Jonathan was deeply impressed with David. An immediate bond was forged between them. He became totally committed to David. From that point on, he would be David's number one advocate and friend. And verse 3 and 4 tells us, Jonathan, out of his deep love for David, made a covenant with him. He formalized it with solemn gifts, his own royal robe, and weapons, armor, sword, bow, and belt. Great passage there. I challenge you to go ahead and spend some time reflecting, reading through this passage that gives us the model friendship of David and Jonathan. And what I see as common ground between them is actually referenced in verse 3 and 4. Jonathan, out of his deep love for David, made a covenant with him. He formalized it with solemn gifts, his own royal robe and weapons, armor, sword, bow, and belt. There it is. I don't know if you caught it at the tail end of verse 4. Jonathan, contrary to the perception that I and various others have had of him, Jonathan was not just this crown prince with a silver spoon, born with a silver spoon, who receives everything on a silver platter. He was actually a man of war. He was a warrior. He had skills in battle. He, as recorded in 1 Samuel 14, was able to lead troops of Israel against the enemies of God's people, against the Philistines. He was also familiar with battle terrain, just like David. And I believe that that's one of the things that brought them together, gave them common ground. Because in 1 Samuel chapter 17, we are introduced to David in the battlefield. David is the man in the arena. David is the man who stands up against Goliath. and not with a sword or bow or arrow, but with a sling and a stone. And with that one stone, he fells the greatest enemy of Israel. I think that at that point in time, Jonathan realized, this is a kindred spirit. This is someone that I can connect with. Someone who is passionate about vindicating Israel from the oppression of the Philistines. Someone who is passionate about the name of the Lord. At least it's implicit there. Someone who goes ahead and advances against the enemies of God's people. Jonathan found common ground with David. And so I'm challenging you to consider, as you survey the terrain of your social sphere, as you think of your interactions, there could be some people with whom you click and you connect without struggle. You click and you connect, and it's a connection not based on tribe, not based on various other things, but it could just be this something that you look at. It could be a common cause. For them, these two men, it was this common cause, and their friendship goes deeper and deeper. I submit to us that the genesis of a friendship is commonality. When we realize that there is more that brings us together than that which tears us apart. I can think of another example from the New Testament. Simon, James, and John. James and John are sons of Zebedee. Simon, James, and John had this trio of friendship, very close friends. We see them as the kitchen cabinet of Jesus. We see them together on the Mount of Transfiguration. We see them together when Jesus is raising someone from the dead. We see them as a very close circle of friends. And I believe that part of their common ground is that they were in the fishing industry. They were fishermen. They were involved in this business. They knew what it meant. They knew the hustle and the bustle. They knew the struggles. And because of that, and of course, way more than that, they were able to connect. I can think of another example of Jesus and how he chose these friends around him to be with him. And when you consider the circle of friends that he chose, they were outliers, just like Jesus was an outlier. They were in many ways just on the periphery. They were not men of great influence. They were not people there who would be marveled upon. They were ordinary folk. And Jesus chooses ordinary folk to be with him. I do not know if you have taken stock of your life lately and considered, who could the Lord be connecting me with around my circles, my social circles, my spheres of influence? Who could the Lord be connecting me with? Where you just have camaraderie, as they call it. You just have an ease of connection based on this commonality. And what I draw is that in order for there to be commonality, or for that commonality to be made aware of, one of the parties has to take a step. One of the parties has to take a step of vulnerability, to risk. They have to take a step, make a choice of appropriate self-disclosure. And I think of the swimming pool. In my high school days, one of the sports I really took part in was swimming. And so I think of the swimming pool, and many other times when you go to the pool, you'll observe that there will be different ways into which people get into the water. The veteran swimmers will go onto the diving board and they'll plummet into the water. And then there are those who are cautious and risk-averse, and they'll climb down the ladder. And then there are those who are extremely risk-averse, and they'll sit on the concrete and dip their feet into the water. And all this, I'm trying to say, is that at the bottom line, they end up in the water. Whichever route they take the risk and they get into the water. And so it is with friendship. you will have to take a risk. You will have to take a step. You will have to make that move of some sort of appropriate self-disclosure. And it may not be easy, but on the other side of that risk is a glorious friendship. A friendship that the history books will write about. A friendship that will add value to your life. And a friendship that will advance God's purposes. I hope that you will take the risk and dive into the pool. I hope that you will take the risk and be vulnerable and connect with someone, and so that you can be able to have some solid friends in a very disconnected age. Thanks for watching CITAM Church Online. May God richly bless you.